Easy Maths Tutor is proudly sponsored by Kalido Foods. If you want to be smart and be a maths lover, make sure you take your plantain flour, yam flour, turmeric powder, ginger powder, and rosemary powder. For more information, visit kalidaresources.com. Hello friends, you're welcome to this edition of Easy Maths Tutor, and today we're going to talk about a very vital rule in mathematics known as surds. Now, for example, we all know that 36 is a perfect square. Square root of 36 will give us 6. Also, we know that the square root of 25 will give us 5. Same as 6 1/4 will give us a half. That's the square root of 6 1/4. However, most numbers do not have exact square roots. Numbers such as 7, 5, 3, 2 do not have an exact square root. And so, how do we manage these numbers? We manage these numbers in form of writing the exact numbers and putting the square roots on them, such as root 3, root 5, root 7, and so on and so forth. Now, these numbers do not have an exact square root. Root 3, root 5, root 7, and so on and so forth do not have an exact square root. And so we prefer to work with them as they are. So there's a special name we call these numbers. They are known as surds. Now, these surds are irrational numbers. That is, they are not whole numbers. But we can sometimes find the approximate values using the square root tables. So, in order for us to make our mathematical calculations and manipulations a bit simpler, we use the surds as they are. It is simpler to solve your mathematical problems and do your manipulations with the surds as they are. Then also, point to note, we do not just have square roots. We can have cube roots, we can have fourth roots, fifth roots, and so on and so forth. And then take note that the square root sign stands for a positive square root. And so we're going to go on and do more calculations using surds. In working with surds, there's some rules we're going to work with in surds. Now, if you have the square root of 2 surds, it will be equal to the square root of the multiplication of those 2 surds separately. That's the first rule. And then the second rule, if you divide 2 surds in one square root sign, it's equal to the division of the square root of each of those surds individually. So those are the 2 basic rules that we're going to encounter in finding or working with our surds. Then also take note that if you add 2 surds, 2 surd numbers together with the square roots, it will not give you the addition of the individual surds. So let's take note of that. And same goes for the subtraction of these numbers. So sit back and relax as we solve some lovely questions that have to do with surds. Okay, so these are the basic rules that we will encounter when solving our surdic problems. Alright? So if you have the square root of a number, assume we have 2 surds, m and n, right? It's equal to m times the square root of n. Alright, that's the first rule. That's rule number 1. While rule number 2, if you have a division of 2 surdic numbers, it will be the same thing as the square root of m over n. And then if we have something like this, the square root of m plus n, assuming m and n are 2 surdic numbers, for instance, like 2 and 3, or 5, 7, so on and so forth, numbers that do not have an exact square root, then this will not, take note, will not be equal to the square root of m plus the square root of n. Same goes for the subtraction, right? It will not be equal to square root of m minus square root of n. So take note of these rules as we walk along our square root problem. Okay, now that we have established all these rules, let's take some quick examples that will buttress this quick fact. For example, if we have 9 times 16, this means the square root of 9 times 16. This means that we have the square root of 9 times the square root of 16. This and this are equal. So let's take another scenario. If we have 144 of 16, it will be equal to the square root of 144 all over the square root of 16. So now let's prove this. Let's prove that this scenario is equal to this scenario. So for the first case, root 9 times 16, right, will give us 144. All right? So the square root of 144 gives us 12. Or we'll say 144 is 12 times 12, therefore the square root is 12. Now let's take the other side of the equal sign. We have 9, square root of 9 times square root of 16. Alright? So the square root of 9 will give us what? 3. And the square root of 16 will give us what? 4, giving us 12. So that means this is equal to this. So let's test the other scenario. Now, the second scenario, we have 144 over 16, all square root. So, 144 divided by 16, we're going to divide it, right? So, if we have 4 going in here, we'll have it 4 times. 4 going into 14, we have it 3 times. Alright, remainder 2. 4 going into 24, we have it 6 times. Alright, so we have 4 going here once, 4 going here 9, leaving us with the square root of 9, which we know is the same thing as 3 times 3, therefore 3. And also, let's look at the second equal sign, the other side of the equality, 16, alright? So we know that the square root of 144 is the same thing as 12 times 12, all over, square root of 16 is 4 times 4, giving us 12 over 4. 4 goes here, 1, 4 goes here, 3, giving us 3. That means that this scenario is equal to this scenario. This situation is equal to this situation, proving that these rules are correct. So if we substitute the same numbers here, we cannot get this. Therefore, do not try to add up surds in this way. Alright? Thank you for watching, and I want to say welcome to all our returning subscribers and all those that have been with us. If you're new to this channel, thank you for coming and you're welcome. Do not forget to subscribe, like, and comment on under this video at the end of this video. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your love. See you. EasyMathsTutor is proudly sponsored by Kalido Foods. If you want to be smart and be a maths lover, make sure you take your plantain flour, yam flour, turmeric powder, ginger powder, and rosemary powder. For more information, visit calidaresources.com.